Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions. And today's guest is going to be a little bit different. So normally we're just talking about like how do you scale and grow and behind the curtain of like business and life. And today I actually have this guest coming on because we're going to like really pull back the curtain. So I have with me today, Therese Skelly, who is the intuitive business mentor. Now she's blending her background as a psychotherapist, business coach, and then just like this ninja-like intuitive skills all together. And she then goes and helps high-achieving women get their gifts out in the world to create the business that they love. So please help me welcome her to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. Welcome, Therese.
Hey, my dear. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here and speak to your audience.
Yeah, right. So we've known each other for a number of years, reconnected since COVID and everything's opening back up. And what came out of that reconnection was there's some things that have happened in the past few years that have definitely impacted your business. Right. So I want to make sure that we touch on that. But before we do that, I think my first question really is, what exactly is it that you do for your clients? Like, how do you bring in psychotherapy, business coaching, and ninja-like intuitive skills together to help these high-achieving women? And then I want to move into the next question.
Perfect. So here's what I know, Shay. The women I work with generally have all the strategies. They know the strategies. They've been in all the masterminds. They've hired all the gurus. And they're like, what in the heck? Why am I not farther along? Or I'm doing it, but I'm not loving this business. It's killing me, right? It's costing me time and family and relationships. And I hate how I'm doing it, but I feel trapped. So what I do, I will show you, I always work with a pendulum. I don't know if we're on video or not, but so what I do is the ninja-like intuition. My gift is I know exactly where you're blocked. And it is wild. It is so wild. Like I sometimes it'll just be like, what happened in your mother's womb when you were pregnant? Like when your mom was pregnant with you, like, let's go there, which sounds crazy. But what I know is, we carry in generational trauma. We carry in things from all the ancestors, relatives, the culture, being a certain gender. We carry all this stuff in. And so you can have all the strategy in the world, but if you have a foundation that is literally repelling or pushing away, like just this morning, I was working with a woman who's very savvy. She knows she's been in this coaching space for 10 years probably. And she wasn't making the money she wanted. And when I pick up and do my assessment, she was only open 12% to receiving money. Oh. She knows all the strategy. She's getting a new website done. And she's like, what's in my way? And I go, boom, it's this. Right. And so not only do I use the intuition to kind of find it. And then I can also use the psychotherapy thing of like, okay, this is what this means. There's a part of you that when you were 5 made this decision. Let's do I have tools to help you process that. And then, okay, now the business coach marketing in me is like, this is what you're doing. This is what your strategy is. Boom, boom, boom. So it really covers all of the areas, but especially the energetic piece. Like that is the game changer. That is like,
I love it because it's matching like the magical, the mystical, the intuitive side, the energetic side with the science, with the so it's really that yin and yang. You hear it, people talk about the feminine and the masculine.
100%.
Right? So it's like the flow and what's happening energetically, known as probably more the feminine side. And then the structure and the container and the systems, everything else is more the quote unquote masculine side.
Right.
So it's pairing the two together. So you can, so what you're saying is you can have all the masculine pieces available in place, know how to do it. But if you're being blocked on the flow side, it's not going to move forward like you want it to.
And nobody knows what I know. And that is not an arrogant thing at all. But like when I find the thing, like I'll just be like, what happened when you were 5? And then it'll be like, oh my God, this was a story. And like, boom, there it was.
Yeah.
So most of the places that we are held back, they're not in our conscious awareness, right? And our brain's like, do more, grow your list, just push more, get more followers. Like we tend to want to do that.
Yeah.
But if there's a part of you that's like, I'll give you an example, just a really quick example. One of my clients struggled so much with visibility because I do a lot of work with visibility, getting you out there, right? And she was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm stuck. I can't post. I pick up my little pendulum and I'm like, okay, it's on your mom's side. What happened to your mom? And we got kind of the time frame. And she said, oh, my mom lived in a country where there's a war going on and there was bombs and bullets and everything. And they actually came in and took her brother. Wow. And so the mom's brother ended up having to fight for the army. So she said, so my mom basically had the understanding of like, it is not safe to be seen. Literally, if you're seeing bad things. So here, my client now, how many years later, is like, I don't know why I can't post. She had no conscious understanding at all.
Right.
But I could find it.
But it wasn't because it wasn't like her physical trauma.
It wasn't at all. But that's the epigenetics, right? That's the family trauma that we bring in that we don't have an understanding of. And she's working hard. She's doing mentoring and doing all this stuff. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I do. Hold on. Boom. Like 7 minutes later, it's like, right. So then we can work with her on like, okay, let's work on your strategy now. But that's I feel so blessed. Like, this is like, how freaking cool of a gift this is, right? Like, it's amazing. So I'm really blessed to have this.
That's amazing. And then, from there, you were able to help her unblock and move forward. Yes. And now she's freely posting.
Yeah. It's very cool.
So amazing. So amazing. Okay. So my second question, which I alluded to, was there's some things that have happened.
What in the heck happened to you?
Yeah. So I would love to know,
yes.
So whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah. Backstory.
So things are happening.
I applied to Shay's podcast and the focus is, how did you scale? And I said, well, I didn't scale. I downsized. I had to, can we talk about what happens when life kicks you in the head? Because that to me is what happened. So I'll just give you a little synopsis. So 6 years ago, my kid's dad died suddenly. And that plummeted my older son, Danny, into just hardcore alcoholism, depression, anxiety. And so we were dealing with that for a few years. And then in 2021, I'm trying to get the years right, 2021, he came home with COVID. A couple of days later, I got COVID. The week prior, our beloved dog got killed. So we both have COVID. And I got really bad long COVID. Like I was on steroids for 8 months. I was doing breathing treatments. I hit me really, really, really hard in the lungs. Well, my son, after about 2 months, he had been he had some anxiety and some depression, but after 2 months, suddenly he's like in this manic state. He's just like, and it was like, Danny, what's going on? He didn't sleep for 14 days. So I'm calling the doctor. I'm trying to get him medicated, trying to, get things organized. And Shay, he got completely psychotic. And he'd never had that level of insanity, right? He had overdosed before. He had done all this stuff dealing with an addicted kid, but this level of, and at first it was kind of cute. Like it was like, oh, aren't your little delusions funny? Then it got real dark and really and I live by myself. There's no other parent. My other son was with me part of the time, but I was basically my son and the dog and I there were times when I literally would lock myself in the bedroom with the dog because he was screaming and crazy, pounding on the door. And so I've lost my dog. I have this sick kid. I can barely walk down the block because I'm so sick, right? And it's these times like, what in the world? Like, how do I do this, right? And so the good news is, well, let me back up. There was one moment I was working with my mentor. I reached out and I'm like, Richard, this is going to kill me. I really am convinced the chronicity of this stress, it's unrelenting. I'm afraid I'm going to die. I really, because I can't handle this. And so he's like he's a minister, and he just said, you know what? The God in you is bigger than the shit in your life. I was like, I kind of like that my minister swore personally, but he said, the God in you is bigger than the stuff in your life. And it was like a moment of like, there was like a little tiny break, and it didn't change overnight. But what ended up happening is just these crazy, he actually ended up overdosing again. He ended up, there was a weekend, he was so psychotic. He called my sister-in-law, went to her house for the weekend. Thank God she was going to give me a break. And he had massive seizures, like turning purple, almost died twice. So then he ended up in a hospital. And that was the moment where there was a little crack. And thank God there was a social worker that's like, you know what, you're kind of struggling. And, you know, there's HIPAA, because I think he was like 26 or something like that. And I'm in the room, and apparently they're, and I just mama bulldozed. They're like, well, is it okay? And he's like, no, she can't hear. And I'm like, so I was very proud of myself. I just bulldozed the heck out of that. And we got him to a center, a psychiatric hospital. He got stabilized. And eventually then he moved out because he was living with me. So this happened in January. He started getting a little manicky in February, March, April, May. He was just all psychotic. And then I think in August, he was stabilized enough that he moved in with a friend. But my nervous system, because every time he'd come over, I'm either, are you going to have a seizure? Are you okay? Oh my God, are you going to die? Right? Like there were so many. So that was the year, right? I finally got off of the steroids from my lungs like 8 months later. Then I had an injury. My dog had a leash accident, and I ended up having a surgery. So just as I'm like, okay, Danny's better. And then boom, now I have surgery, and I'm left-handed, and I have the whole hand was injured. And I at this point, I'm like, all right, God, really, what? Okay. Yeah. I'm done with this resilient stuff. Like I'm already the strongest person I know. Like, let's stop. But what happened? So let me back up to my business. Thank God for SBA loans, you know, because that was a thing. And I was not doing any marketing. I just saw the few clients that I had. So I literally allowed my business to kind of come to because imagine if you're in the room afraid of your son pounding on the door, you're not really able to do a lot of marketing. Right. So I had to surrender to what was, and I had to get really okay with, wow, okay, well, I can't do a lot now. I have to, my kid's really sick. That is my number one job. And what was so strange, and this is what I want to talk about, is I had gotten like, okay, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Boom. I have to have surgery. And I remember sitting there going, okay, who am I if I'm not making all this money? Who am I if I'm not coaching or creating? I love marketing. I love writing. Like, who am I? Mm-hmm. And that identity piece, I realized, and I'm sure you will relate, like, I was kind of addicted to the identity. I was like, I was six-figure, like I was really into this identity piece. And when you strip that away, what is there? Right. And so that's why I wanted to bring the conversation, because it's easy to like, oh, hell yeah, a six-figure launch, or, oh, I got it. But when you're like, well, yeah, I'm living on SBA loans and eating cookies, watching Ted Lasso. Like it was such an interesting journey. And for me, who I am is love. Mm-hmm. That's ever present. That's the one that I got it. And let me finish the story. Danny went on, lived with his friend. 10 months ago, he had another bad relapse, but this time it worked because he went to AA, and he is so healthy, so happy, wildly sober, works a really great program, and he's working in the recovery field, and he's helping people. And so it's magnificent. Yeah. And just now my nervous system is like, okay, it's mama's time now. Right. So it took me like a year. Last year I was like, oh, okay. Cause you know, if you're a mama, your kids are everything. Right. And so now I'm like, oh my gosh. But that's the story. So amazing.
And I appreciate you bringing it to awareness, because you weren't alone, right? Like there's somebody out here, especially that is listening to this right now, where everything is now hitting the fan.
Right.
And they're coming up with the questions themselves of like, who am I? If I'm not a coach, if I'm not this, if I'm not a part of my business, I've, worked and worked and worked. I've got shame and all of this stuff coming up. What would you say are the lessons that you learned from that year?
The first one was how attached I was to my identity. I didn't realize it because, we always say, oh yeah, men, you are who you are what you earn, you are what your job title is. I don't think I was that, because I feel like I'm really balanced. I don't feel like I'm not a workaholic these days. I feel really balanced. And I'm like, whoa, sister, who are you? Because I put so much emphasis on Therese the coach, Therese the marketer, Therese the healer, Therese the helper. And when all those were pretty stripped away. So number one, that was a great learning. Can I be loved when I'm not producing? Am I just as lovable watching Ted Lasso eating gluten-free cookies? And it had to be a yes, right? So examining the attachment to that, like it really showed me like, no, you're who you are is magnificent. Doesn't matter. So that was magnificent. It also showed me we are always supported. Like, thank God for the SBA loan. I will say that. And I have no shame about that, right? Like, thank God. I love today, Shay, that I can receive. That didn't used to be the case before. I was like, no, I'm fine. I was a freaking therapist. Of course I'm going to, I'm a helper, giver. And so the understanding that, like, you know what, there's always support. There's you're always taken care of. You really are. Like, and even my kid was so crazy. It was, and his friends would come over, the guys from school, they would come over, they'd bring food, they would sit and he would tell them all his psychotic stories. They'd watch the Suns games and like they supported him. I mean, there was so much support. I mean, the system, not so much. It was very hard to get a mentally ill person taken care of, but I just had to relish, like, wow, while I was alone, that I'm the only parent, so many people were loving and supporting and helping, right? And mainly my business survived, right? And on the other side of it, again, I'm doing that. I don't need another overcoming thing, God. I'm already strong.
I'm good. I think I'm good for quite a while. Thank you.
Learned checked all the boxes, but it's like, you know what? And I will say, for a while, Shay, I'd had PTSD from all this. I was so traumatized. And so I've learned now, like, okay, you can be in a relationship. Like for a year, I'd be like, oh, my son, Danny. And then I'm like, focus on the joy, focus on the good. So that's also, because it's really easy to get stuck either feeling like a victim or feeling like having it take over your whole life. I'm dealing with this. I'm overcoming it. You know what I mean? And so I just kind of stopped the conversation. Like, no, I want to focus on the joy and on the good. And so it really committed me to follow the joy. What's good? What's fun? And I'm like, I live large today. I'm like, whoa. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Right. And it's so those are some lessons. Thank you.
I love that. So how has it changed how you relate to your business and how you support your clients now moving forward?
Strangely, well, I can hold space like nobody can hold space because I have been through hell. I have literally, I watched my kid overdose and turn purple in front of me, right? I have seen crazy. I have felt crazy. And so there's nothing you can say that's going to throw me, right? Like I can hold the good. I can hold the snotty tears. So I'm unflappable in that regard. I'm unflappable. I'm also a fierce fucking mama. I am like, not on my watch. You're not going to live a small life. You are not going to be less than you deserve. No, I will not allow shame in you. So it probably, I was always kind of mission driven, but this woke me up in a bigger way. And this sounds strange. my faith is crazy, crazy strong. And my skills, my intuitive skills, I woke up and I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, look what I've got. Like, it's just like, it's
So
wild. And it's just wild. It's just wild.
yeah.
So yeah, that's how I do it.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is really
And
exciting.
it's like everything is figure outable. That's kind of like one of my things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's figure outable. Things show up to learn the lessons that we're supposed to be learning and support us in the things to help others move forward.
Exactly.
Right. So
yes.
it's not that you like wish this upon anybody, but
Right.
I do feel gratitude that you have had the experience, because now through this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
others can learn and be supported and know that they're not alone, and that they go, okay, I can ask for support and I can follow my joy and, see your path and follow in the footsteps, versus feeling that they're totally alone. Right. And can reach out and connect. Right. Beautiful. I love that.
There's a lot of, and here's one thing that I forgot to say. It's very easy to sit, my partner has never had a kid that was alcoholic. Most people they've never had somebody in your house that's actively psychotic, and so many people would be like, we'll just put them out, just put them on the streets. And I like, it was a little hard because, and I know these people are trying to help, but I just am like, shh, talk to the hand. This is my kid. And so I always had the knowing, like, no, that he in this moment, like if he was just a simple addict, if he was like stealing money and he was a heroin addict, he wasn't a heroin addict, he was an alcoholic. But if like, I know how to deal with addiction, I've worked with addiction, but when there's wild mental illness going on, I'm not going to just put him on the streets. And I took so much shit from people because they're like, well, why are you causing this suffering? And I'm like, and so that was another one, is I had to trust my knowing. I had to trust that I will fight for this kid. And I did. And today, oh my gosh, he's going to do great things in the world. He is absolutely, he's helping people. Right. And he's now working in the recovery field. And I used to work in the recovery field. He'd be like, Mom, what do I do about this? I'm like, okay, baby, here's the what you do. Right. And so it's so cool to see it like circle back. Like I'm giving him advice to how to work with addicts he's working with. It's like, and they will say like, wow, your story, you really inspired me, dude. And I'm like, this is why you went through this. So it's trust your knowing, and don't listen to the voices that aren't in your world. And people try to help, but you trust your knowing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Beautiful. We could continue on forever and ever. However, I would love for you to share with us, if somebody's like, okay, I need to connect with you. What is the best way for them to do that? And then do you happen to have a gift for our audience?
I do. So let me just tell you really quickly about the gift. It's called the expansion zone. Are you in the expansion zone? So I'll just really quickly tell you, the expansion zone is this. I believe our soul is like always wanting us to grow, expand, like more, like more life and more experiences and more help. But then our brain is not our friend, right? Our brain wants to keep us safe, small, and stuck. So we got one part of us that's like, oh, yes. And the other part's like, oh, heck no. Wait. You can't do that. What if they laugh at you? What if you fall on your face? You're not going to make money. So we have this dynamic, right? And so the expansion zone gift is basically a quiz that helps you to understand, where are you in this? And why are you stuck, and how maybe some ways to get out of it. So you're going to want to know that.
I love it.
That's the gift.
So we'll have the link in the show notes for you to pick up that quiz. Beautiful.
Right. And how to contact me, ts@thereseskelly.com. You can go to Facebook friend me, say, I saw you on the podcast. So either way, either my email or Facebook, that's where you would find me. And I'm you won't be surprised, I'm super approachable and relatable. So if you just want to go, can I just chat? Like, oh my God, I need to hear, or, this is what's going on with me. I would love to have a conversation with you. If I can support you in any way, reach out.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for that. And my last question for you is, what would you say is a takeaway or a memorable note that you would like to leave our audience with today?
I want you to remember, just the support, like it's there if you have to be willing to receive it. And a lot of women have like, no, I'm good. No, I don't need any. And I always say to my clients, I want you to be greedy for your own good. Right. And I use that word specifically because we have I can't be greedy. Oh, you can. Having lived a life of hell that almost killed me, be freaking greedy for your good. So just literally daily, like, how much good am I allowing? How much love am I allowing? How much support am I receiving? Because it doesn't have to be a dry well. There's nothing to prove. There's no like, oh, no, I'm needless. That's old school. We don't do that. Not on my watch. So just find the support, just avail yourself to that, and that will change your life.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And I want to thank our audience for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all of these lessons, all of these resources that you've learned here today, start implementing them so that you can create even more impact in your world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.